I'm Doug Ward from the School of Journalism. I'm an associate professor and I have been here 9 years. My background is in journalism. I came here from the New York Times. I've also worked at the Philadelphia Inquirer. I spent 14 years on the East Coast, but I grew up in the Midwest and have a master's degree from the University of Kansas. My interests are varied. I certainly have that I have the journalism background, which is primarily in editing. So I have a website devoted to editing, and I have another website devoted to technology. It's called Journalism Tech, but it's really technology for anyone. I relate it to journalists, but I find that it's really valuable for anyone. Well, I think really digital humanities is bringing research and learning into the 21st century. I think it has helped really shift some of the thinking from a very traditional education. And education has not changed, research has not changed for years and years and years and years and years. And I don't think that that's really meshes with the reality of the modern world. And the modern world is very much a digital, collaborative, online environment. Absolutely, the physical part of it is important, the written part of it is crucial, but digital humanities has opened up, I think, the possibilities of research and of learning. That's what I gain from it, is I think there are just so many opportunities by bringing in new tools, and it's really just a different method. I mean, and I think that's what you find when you use a different method, is that it opens up your way of thinking. It opens up the possibilities of learning. And I got involved in digital humanities with mapping, and I've worked with Rhonda Hauser at the libraries with ArcGIS and created what ended up being a fairly complicated map for looking at magazine audiences in the past. What I liked was the ability with ArcGIS is to layer census data and magazine readership statistics on maps, and to try to understand a spatial relationship to the way people read in the past and what we might be able to take from that. Now, what I've sort of moved into for the most part is learning and teaching and education in general, and how are things changing? What can we do to make education more relevant in a digital world? How can we reach students the best way possible, and to integrate some of the technology that's out there that students are familiar with in a lot of cases but don't think about it as learning technology? How can we integrate that into our teaching? How can we create classes and approach learning in a way that is relevant to students, that's most relevant to students, that gets them excited about learning, that helps them develop the kinds of skills that they need for the future. Knowledge is never static. I mean, there's a certain amount of things that you have to know to start with, but what I really stress is the ability to adapt. And no matter what you learn as you're in school, as you're researching, you have to be able to adapt it. So I've been working on some projects, doing some writing about collaborative learning, about the future of education, about backward design in education. I am teaching this semester, as well as this summer, I'm teaching a class called Infomania. In the spring, I taught a class called Infomania, Journalism 302. There was also an honors section, Honors 492, goes 492. And that I developed as part of a grant from Institute for Digital Research in the Humanities. It's a very general course, and it's aimed at helping students integrate digital tools into their research, into their workflow. And with that course, I started with the idea of what is information, how do you find information, how do you analyze and synthesize information, and how do you use information. As part of that, there's a digital literacy component, and I really want students to understand how to find things with digital tools, and then how to use that information with digital tools. And that's primarily journalism students, but it applies to anyone. And I had students last semester from 3 or 4 different disciplines who were in the honors section of it. I hear a lot about the digital natives and about students knowing far more about technology than faculty members. And to some degree that's true, but if you get down to it, students are very good with their phones, with texting, they're very good with Facebook. They're good at Googling. Well, they're good at basic Googling. They don't know how to use these tools in depth. They don't know how to really integrate them into their workflow, and they don't know how to go beyond just some of those basics. And that's really what I try to do in my course, to help them understand those tools and then to send them out and to help them create a project that will put those tools to use. So they have to use the digital tools to research, to find information for their project, and then to use the tools to create a digital project. What I try to do with my Infomania class is to introduce tools to students, or to say, here are some options. Explore some of them on your own and write about them, and to share those with others in the class. And they have a journal that they keep online on Blackboard. They write about those. I will have them talk about it in class. I use a board called Poplet online that is a kind of a collaborative mind mapping program, so that it allows students to take a concept or to take a group of readings, and I have them then working collaboratively on that, and they can put in text, they can put in video, they can put in pictures, and then create connections among all of the different components and all of the different things that they're talking about in the discussion they're having. And I find that helps them understand the connections that I want them to have. And really that's what I push a lot during this semester in this class. It's not that it's just one particular component that I want them to learn. I want them to learn how things are connected. I've been exploring hybrid learning, hybrid education, and what we can do to improve that, what we can do to help others adopt it, why it's important. And I think that hybrid is, to me, is very important because it allows a different approach in the classroom. It combines online and the physical components of learning, and allows more of the rote material or lecture material to be put online where students can work through it on their own. And then how can we open up the classroom in a different way based on that? So those are some of the things that I've been exploring. And then with physical space, I've been working with the university on remaking a classroom in this building. And one of the reasons I got involved in that is that last semester I had 2 sections of the same class. One was in a very collaborative space at the Commons in Spooner Hall. I had students set up in tables, in clusters, in groups of 4 to 8. And I had 5 of those. And the students, for the most part, I had them bring laptops, and they worked in group projects, and they were excited. It was a great space to work. And I had another class in Dole Hall, and it was set up with rows of desks, and I found that the students came in and they were programmed. That's how they programmed themselves. They have learned that they come in when there's a setup like that, they come and they sit. I was able to get the Commons for 3 days. I took them over to the Commons, and I took that group that seemed passive, not interested in that classroom. I took them over to the Commons. They had their own space. They had tables and movable chairs and electricity for computers. Their group came alive. It was suddenly a different thinking that they had. So I'm looking into that and how physical spaces make a difference in the way students approach learning, and just think about themselves as students. One of the challenges right now in digital humanities is gaining the acceptance of a university system and a promotion and tenure system. That's not just here, that's everywhere. And those of us who are out there working on digital projects are kind of living on the edge in that we don't know always how promotion and tenure committees will accept what we're doing. There's a traditional way of doing things, the journal article, the book, that people are comfortable with and that they know about. A digital project, a lot of times, it doesn't fit within the model. That's what I'm struggling with right now with a lot of the things I'm doing. It doesn't fit into that traditional model of major, minor, this category, that category, this category. It's broader than that, it's narrower than that, it's more connected in ways that a traditional approach is not. And that makes it a challenge, I think, to put it forward in a promotion and tenure package. But I think that's where those promotion and tenure committees have to be open to that way of thinking. And that's really going to be crucial. And I think that if those of us who are out there doing it now can break through some of those barriers and show others how it can be done, and that it can be done, and that there are ways to open up your research, that there are ways to open up your intellectual activity, that it would become more and more accepted. And I'm seeing that already.